What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. I hope you're subscribing there on iTunes or Google Play or YouTube or Spotify or any of the other methods you can get the show. I really do appreciate your guys' support. This week on the show, we have our guest. His name is Christian Henson. I reached out to him asking if he would like to be a guest on the show, and he was very nice enough to share his time with me and share all of his stories. If you guys want to be in the show just like he was, send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get things started with Christian Henson. Do you remember what initially got you started playing games? Was it a family member? Was it a friend? Was it some awesome magazine you saw at a store? Like, what got you started?
It was my mom. When I was like 7 years old, 6 or 7, I got my tonsils taken out. And for like a recovery gift, if that's what you want to call it, she got me a Game Boy Color with, I can't remember if it was Pokemon Red or Yellow. I can't remember which one I had first. I know I had both. But she gave me the Game Boy Color with Pokemon, and it was more for her, but there was a Miss Pac-Man 2-pack. So, like,
again, she saw the weird way to get herself a game, too.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, yeah, so, we'll get you this, but I'm going to get a game, too.
And I specifically remember waking up from naps in the hospital and looking over, and she's just over there playing my Game Boy, because she had all of the patterns memorized from Pac-Man. So.
Oh, jeez.
But,
so,
yeah.
That's cool, though. I mean, like, I'm also, too, like, that's a cool gift to wake up to. Like, oh, by the way, we got you this. Because,
yeah.
Oh, I mean, had you shown interest in games prior to that, and then she just was like, this was the time to pull the trigger thinking?
I was so young, I honestly can't remember. I just remember, because I was born in 94, I'm a 90s kid, so the Pokemon cartoon was my life, basically, growing up. So when she gave me the Game Boy Color, she also gave me the first movie on VHS.
Nice.
And so, like, the old school TV in the hospital room had a VHS player built in. It was one of those things.
Nice.
So
and
we
it
just
still worked. That's crazy, because I never saw fucking one of those that ever worked after a day.
Yeah, exactly. So we would just, like, between playing the game and recovering from my tonsil surgery, I would just watch that movie on repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And even, like, years later, I remember taking that VHS to a friend's house and just, I would watch that movie religiously. That's why I have the Blu-ray of it right now.
Right. Yeah, like, it's a cool thing, though, that at least your mom was encouraging with games, because, like I said, she played. Yeah, she was a big supporter of it. I remember several times where, because if we're being completely honest, my dad's big outdoorsman. We're in Texas, so that's a big thing. And I would get like a good report card, and Mom would be like, here's Pokemon Silver, but don't tell Dad. so it was one of those things where, like, for Easter, like in my Easter basket, I would have like a PS2 game or a 360 game, and my brother would have like candy. It was just a thing. My mom was very supportive of it, and yeah, that's pretty much what drove me to it, and now I'm just addicted. Right.
Like, I have a problem.
Well, I mean, at least, like you said, the cool thing, though, is that she recognized that this was something initially. I mean, the cool thing, though, is, like, Pokemon, as far as a cartoon, definitely would transition people into getting the games, even if they weren't necessarily into quote-unquote video games or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they just saw that and go, oh, there's a way to interact with this, and that is a gateway to everything. Because the only thing I'll say is, like, some people make fun of Pokemon for being like Little Tyke's My First RPG, like
baby's first RPG, baby.
It's a turn-based RPG, and like that can quickly transition to more mature-based turn-based games. Like, and that what's funny is like that's kind of what got me into Final Fantasy VII in a way, because I was an NES and Genesis kid. I did not play many RPGs. Got Pokemon. I was like, okay, this is cool. Obviously, it's a different type of game, the turn-based style, but I was like, this is fun. But then when I found out, like, Final Fantasy VII was that type of game, but wasn't childish, quote-unquote, it was more mature, I was like, cool, let me get into that. So, I mean, it introduced me into a genre of games that I didn't think I was interested in, or to be honest, didn't really know much about, because on Genesis, those weren't really that much of an option.
And I think I had played games before because my great-grandmother had a Super Nintendo, and we had Super Mario Brothers 3, we had the Duck Hunt, Mario Brothers combo thing, so Madden 94. I remember playing Madden 94 religiously. Don't even know who the teams were on that game, but I played it religiously. And,
yeah, I remember the sports games. Like, the only sports games that I played back then were, like, NBA Jam. Like, because NBA Jam was... Here's the other thing, too. I grew up in Illinois, where the Chicago Bulls were dominant in the 90s. So, like, it was a real easy to be a basketball fan back then in the, Illinois and everything,
yeah,
so...
Yeah, and especially with that era of basketball, I just remember playing like NBA Jam and being like, "Oh, you can play as mascots. I'm going to be the Toronto Raptor and dunk on you."
Right. And then, as every person in my my city goes, it's just like, I'm going to be Jordan and Pippen. Sorry, that's who we're going to play. Jordan Pippen. And like, if you got Jordan Pippen, it's like, oh, I guess. But no, like, I remember I never really played too many of the sports games until like older. But also too, I personally didn't care too much about sports in general until I was actually older. So you were mentioning how your dad was more of an outdoors guy. Was he definitely the type who was like, you should get out and do something else instead of playing those goddamn games? Was he kind of like that?
Not really, kind of, but not to that big of a sense, because I did go like after school. I'm like, okay, hey, I'm going to go across town, ride my bike with friends, and we're going to go to the convenience store and get Gatorade, and we're going to go into the ditch and fish, and, we would do all of that. But then when I would get home, you got homework? Nope, don't got homework. So I'm just going to play games until 11 o'clock at night when I should be asleep. And there was many, because he worked a job where he would sometimes have to work late. So there was a lot of times where he would come home late and he would just walk in my room, turn off my TV.
Just walk in, don't say a word. He just worked a long ass day, walks in, shuts the shit off, and leaves.
Yeah, he would just be like, "You need to be in bed," and just turn my TV off. I'm like, "Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm going to bed now."
Yeah, message received. Going to bed. Sorry, Dad.
Got to the point where I would hear the door open and I'd be like, "Yep, I'm just going to bed."
Might as well turn this off myself and not look stupid.
I'm just not going to deal with it
right
now.
Thankfully, due to technology, I don't have to go in and do that shit anymore, because my son's Xbox won't work after a certain time. My son's phone won't work after a certain time, thanks to parental locks and all that stuff. He probably hates the fact that I know about all that shit, but too bad. like my niece, when we were talking to my sister-in-law about how we can block things on his phone, how we can block things on his Xbox, we can set timers on shit. She's like, "Oh, really? You could do all those things?" And my niece was like hella pissed that her mom just found out about all these restrictions she could put on her devices. So, but back then, just walking in and turning off the TV, that's a good enough sign. Like, all right.
Yeah, it's like, it's a school night. Like, what are you doing?
Why are you up on a school night?
No, it's just like, oh, my bad.
Yeah, my son would do the same thing, except for it wasn't on his Xbox because I blocked it, but then his phone, because it would be bedtime or time to wake up for school the next day, and he's not getting up. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why are you so tired? Like, what have you done to be so exhausted that you cannot wake up on time? I'm trying to remember the fact that I was a teenager at one point in time, and I could have slept from like 9 p.m. till noon the next day and shit. But I found out he was up on his phone on YouTube all night, and I was like, I get it. I could do the same thing myself right now. However, you need to focus on school and do this. So when the first time we put the restriction on his phone was the greatest thing ever, because we did it without telling them. Okay.
Ooh,
so 11 o'clock, all of a sudden he comes, "Hey, Dad, something's wrong with my phone." I'm like, "Yeah, there is nothing wrong with your phone. We put the locks on it. Go to bed." And he's like, "Oh." Just walked in.
My mom did a similar thing. I would get in trouble in school, and she would make it to where I can't send texts after 10. Mm-hmm. And so, if somebody tried to text me, or if I tried to text somebody, it would be, "Oh, the subscriber you're trying to reach is not available at this time."
Damn it.
And even some of the stuff YouTube and stuff wasn't a big thing back then. So I just be like, well, I guess I have to sleep. That's all I have as an option.
Right.
So I just have to throw my phone away and go to bed.
Yeah, it's essentially right now, like, my son's phone turns into just an alarm clock after 11 a.m. Like, that's all it does. I'm like, it is now an alarm clock for you, that's it. And now, yeah, I mean, but I remember having moments where my buddies would get in trouble, and instead of taking, like, telling them they can't do whatever, like, the mom took the power cord for the console. I'm like, dude, that's next level.
My mom never did that. My mom, she would, I'm trying to think. I think she took my, like, DS once.
Right.
But other than that, she would be like, just give me your phone. And I'd be like, okay, well, I still have my Xbox.
Taking a phone away from a kid is, like, fucking the worst thing in the world. Like, it's funny because now they're like, hey, don't beat your kids, and I'm fully agreeing with that. But you taking a phone away is almost as bad. It's almost as traumatizing.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah,
it just mentally fucking destroys them. That's all.
I have a 5-year-old little cousin, and, like, we'll be sitting there, and he has this little, it's not even a tablet, I don't think. It's one of those kids' tablets. And we're like, hey, it's lunchtime. And he's like, but I have one more level. And I'm like, but it's lunchtime.
Yeah.
And I just take it and, like, put it up top, and he's just like, and then he just sits at the table and palates, and I'm like, dude, eat faster, and you can get like, and I say that knowing I did the same thing. I would get in trouble, and I would just sit at the table, and Mom's like, if you eat, you can go back to your room, and I'm just like, no, I refuse. I am taking a stand right now. I am angry. I am not eating this plate of fish sticks and macaroni cheese that I would really love to do right now.
Right? That sounds amazing. No, I've done the same thing where, like, I can tell when my kids are playing games because my son will eat. My son's going to be 14. He will eat my whole fucking house done.
Yeah.
Like he will eat everything, right? But if he's playing a game, he'll come downstairs, gone. And I'm like, he's obviously playing games right now. Usually after he's done eating, he's like, I'm still hungry. But if he's in the middle of a game, if I interrupt him like, dude, dinner time, he'll come downstairs, eat in the quickest fashion I've ever seen a person eat, and then just like bolt back upstairs. I'm like, okay. So as far as it goes, but the good thing you were mentioning before is that your dad never really harped on you because you were doing stuff outside of games. So it's not like you just came home, was antisocial, and played games by yourself and everything.
Yeah, pretty much. So, it was.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, so would you also just go to friends' houses and play games there too? Because I remember that was one time.
Yeah, the cousin we were talking about before the show, he lived kind of across town, and I remember he was the first person in town that had a Wii.
Ooh.
And so, his house was the hot spot. We would go in his house and play Wii bowling, like, for hours and, like, break a sweat and stuff. So I just remember, and there was a lot of people like that. Like, we would go to one of my friend's house. He had a PS3, so we would go over there and play Killzone. And then we would go to the friend's house and play Wii bowling. And it was kind of like we would just, like, we had a map, and we would just go his house to play this, his house to play that, his house to play Grand Theft Auto 4 when we were way too young to be playing it. Because his parents did not give a shit. Dude,
those parents, by the way, I would hate to think those parents exist today, but they still do. But,
Okay.
Like, oh.
Oh, backstory. I work at Walmart, and I worked in electronics for 3 years. And the pain and suffering of trying to convince a parent that this game is not suitable for your 5-year-old, it's the worst.
I worked in a video game store, and it's the same thing. Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's parents that would literally come in and just they would feed their kids bleach if it shut them up. Like, they wouldn't care. Like, they would be like, I just want my kid quiet. I'll do whatever it takes. And it's really sad because, there was times where you would get, parents that are just like, who the fuck cares? It's a video game. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You can punch a hooker in the mouth after she sucks your dick in the car. Like, you don't get this right now. Like, what's going to happen to your 8-year-old if he sees this shit at an early age?
Yeah, one of my favorite ones was we had a lady come in around Christmas time, and she said, I need 2 PS4s, and this was like right when PS4 launched, or soon after. She would say, I want 2 PS4s and 2 copies of Grand Theft Auto 5, and we're like, 2 of each? And she's like, I have twins, and they're not fighting over this, and I know that they can go to the strip club and turn up, but that's not my problem.
Jesus.
We're just like, what? Like, me and my coworkers are mind blown by this woman. We're just like, okay.
Yeah, like, there was parents. I remember a couple times where parents would just blindly walk in and just hand me their card and go, I don't care what the fuck he wants, just pay for it. Like, they didn't care.
My mom was kind of like that, where she would be like, what do you want for Christmas or this? And I would just send her a screenshot of the box art, and she would just go to Walmart or GameStop and be like, here, I want this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, and you get that happening. But the problem is like, my favorite, hands down my favorite, was the inverse, where a kid would come in and try to buy something, and I'd be like, yeah, I need your parents. He's like, fuck. And he'd go get his mom, and his mom was like, why am I being dragged out of the car to come in right now? And I'm like, he's trying to buy a mature rated game. It's mature rated for blah, blah, blah. We just need you to say he's cool. And the mom would be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, she would get so mad to the point where she was mad at her kid and not me. Like, are you crazy thinking I would let you play this shit?
Yep, I would do that all the time. And it became a game with me. I'd be like, no, I need your parents. Well, they're not here. I said, okay, we'll go get them.
Right.
Like, just a little 5-year-old pointing to the glass. Like, yeah, I want GTA. I'm like, the fact that you even know what GTA is. Right. Like, good Lord, man. These kids.
We had parents back then, though, because, like, we had parents of, like, my parent, I won't say my mom was, like, very strict on shit like that, because she did let me, like, obviously, example, Power Rangers. She was scared of me watching Power Rangers because she was scared I was going to do, like, karate moves on my sister and shit. I'm like...
we
there
had
was
a
one story on the news where some
like
kid fucking roundhouse kicked his mom or something, and it was like nationwide news. You know what I mean? I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to go fucking kick people in the head. We're fine.
We had a kindergarten teacher like that where they banned Power Rangers at recess. They're like, okay, you can't play Power Rangers. Why can't we pretend to be these imaginary characters?
Right.
Because you're going to kick Billy in the head.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's going to happen.
Just hurting people. So, I mean, same thing. My mom was like, oh, you shouldn't watch that movie, or you play that game. But then I would just go over Gary's house, and his parents were like, fuck it, play whatever you want, do whatever you want, go to Blockbuster, rent whatever you want. They didn't care.
That was my friend Will. We're like, all right, we're going to go sit in his room in the dark, in the quiet, and just kill people on Grand Theft Auto 4.
Yeah, that works. And it got to the point there where I was like spending so much time at Gary's house. They were just like, you have a home, right? Like, why are you here all the time? like, because you guys let me do a lot of shit over here that my parents don't. Like, what do you want me to say? Yep. Exactly. So, as far as it goes with games, like, obviously, because that was the other thing too, is like when my parents were like, hey, get out of the house and go play games, that meant just going over Gary's house and playing games. Like, that's essential to it. But I still was like active and stuff. And also too, my parents never really gave me too much shit with games, because like, if you had good grades in school, that's like the only responsibility you have as a kid. It's like good grades in school, and then you get to the point where you need to do chores. But like,
yeah, that's exactly how my situation was. They would just go, hey, you got homework? No. You got any plans today? No. All right, we'll just stay out of trouble. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to sit here and play Assassin's Creed 2 again.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still certain games like but I mean also too, certain games, like you get to a point where I won't say I was worried as a parent, right? But when my kids started playing games, like when my son started playing like Call of Duty and Battlefield, he wasn't playing online, because I am not subjecting my kid to the online community at a young age. Because I cannot fathom some grown man calling my son the N-word when he's like 8. I'm not doing that. But like, when he was playing like Battlefield, just playing like single player stuff, I would repeatedly ask him like, this is fake, right? You don't shoot people, right? And he would get to the point, he's like, yeah, Dad, I know. I'm like, all right. So like, he's gotten to the point where he's playing mature rated games now, but also certain mature rated games, I'm like, you are not seeing the light of day until like older age. Like,
yeah.
Like, I have a daughter who lives in Illinois, with her family there. I'm in Arizona, and she got access to Grand Theft Auto at an early age, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like,
oh, no.
I wish you didn't see this this early. But then what's fucked up is I ended up playing Grand Theft Auto 5 online with her, like, together. So, it's father and daughter slinging drugs on the streets of Liberty City.
Let's go rob a car.
Yeah, exactly. But no, like, there's certain games. Assassin's Creed is honestly one of those where I'm like, and like, I'm like, my son asks all the time, can I play Assassin's Creed? I'm like, it's still like, you stab people right up the fucking face with a blade. I'm like, oh.
But you can turn blood off, and that's what I sold my mom on.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, hold on. So, yeah, you can do that. But, I mean, you're still stabbing people with a spear through their chest and kicking them through it. It's like...
Hey, All she needed to know was, is there blood? And that's the only question she asked, and that's what I told her. I was like, I can turn it off.
That's, again, but in a way, though, I thought that was great of, like, them mature-rated games getting to a point where they're like, hey, you can turn blood off.
Yep.
And the other thing, too, I always thought was funny with Gears, like, they censored explicit language, which, by the way, is all over Gears of War.
All over Gears of War.
All over Gears of War. And they were like, you could turn gore off, you could turn blood off, you could turn language off. And I'm like, damn, then, like, this game is just, like, vastly different.
What is this?
Yeah, this is a Gears of War. But again,
the title of this?
Yeah, but good for them for at least having the option in case, like, moms were questionable on it. That's still a game, even now. I'm like, even if I turned all this shit off, I'm like, my son asked, can I play Gears of War? I'm like, later. Like, just later. Give it, like, 2 more years, and I'll let you play some shit. But once you're mature enough to handle this.
And see, on the other side of that, because the whole outdoorsman aspect of my dad, we would play Big Game Hunter, like Cabela's Big Game Hunter, where you go out and shoot the deer, and you're hunting a bear, and all of a sudden a mountain lion attacks you out of nowhere. You have to kill it so you can mount it. It was just this weird retrospect of mom saying, you can't play this game unless you turn blood off. And then dad being like, oh, here, let's go kill these animals.
Right. Last night there's blood there.
Yeah, I'm like, well, okay, well, I get it. But
or he could do the real fucking thing and just like, hey, let's go shooting actual animals in the go hunting itself.
I killed my one deer when I was 7, and that was it. I was done after that. Because
yeah, I'm a grown ass man, and I still don't think I could do that. Like, I don't know. I'm just, again, it gets weird. Like, for example, like when I watch, like, for example, I can see Gears of War. I can see, and it gets realer and realer every year with graphics getting better and better. I can see somebody get chunked up in Gears of War. You fucking shotgun somebody. They don't just die, they explode. Mm-hmm. Like, they're dead. Obliterate, and chunks of them are kicking around as you're running around. But, like, the moment I watch, like, Botched, or, like, a surgery show where that's, like, real life, and it's like, I'm like, like, I can't do it.
The only game that does that for me is Mortal Kombat. These new Mortal Kombat games, I love fighting games, but every time I see those animations, I'm just like,
Jesus.
I'm just like like, I'll just watch the YouTube clip of all of them, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not playing that game because that just grosses me out.
It's fucking like when you cut somebody in half, it's like medically accurate. You're
when
like,
it gets
wow.
When it gets to medically accurate, that's when there's a line that needs to be drawn, and it's not the sternum.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, Jesus. But I mean, back then, like with the maturity games, they were not as plentiful, but also too, I just love how people freaked out back then with mature-rated games because like Mortal Kombat was causing. I mean, Mortal Kombat back then, which yes, I mean it was the most mature-rated game because it was doing some crazy shit, but also graphically comparing. Like if you look back now, like we freaked out over that. Okay,
yeah.
Now it's like, hey, check out Mortal Kombat 11 and tell me a mom's not like, what the fuck? Like I am not letting my kid play that.
And then you get to even later where you have games where I forget which, I think it's Modern Warfare 2, the No Russian mission.
Jesus. That's just so upsetting.
And that's like the first time where a game's like, hey, this is sensitive information. If you want to skip this level, it doesn't hurt against the story. And it's just
good for them for doing that.
And I remember that was I don't even remember when that game came out or how old I was, but I remember even then thinking like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get it at that point. I was probably like 15 or 16. And even then, I was just like, what is this hurting? Like, I don't get it. And then 6 months later on the news, you see a school shooting.
Yeah.
An airport shooting, which is literally what the mission is.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this is not good.
The worst part is, and obviously I was an adult when the game came out, but like, so I remember when it got, the worst part is when there's disclaimers and shit like that, it makes you more interested. Like, what the fuck is so bad? Like,
and I have that same mentality.
Everybody does.
Warning. I'm like, ooh, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Warning, what you're about to see is graphic. Well, I'm fucking sticking around. There's your tease to keep me interested.
Every time I'm scrolling through Facebook and it says, this might contain sensitive content.
Yeah, uncovered video.
I'm like,
click.
Let me see it.
Yeah. But like, with that level, I remember as the level's happening, like, because there's the beginning part when he's like talking to you in the elevator.
Yeah.
He's
talking
to
you.
What the fuck's going on? And then you get out and he goes, remember, no Russia. And I'm just like, or Russian. And I'm like, I just stood there for a second. I'm like, oh my God, is he
Yeah,
really
because you were a
wanting me to
grown-ass
do
man at
this?
that
I was
point,
like,
so you were like, whoa.
fully aware of what's going on. I was like, oh my God, this is real fucked up. And I was just like, I did that moment where I'm like, oh. And then I just pulled the trigger and I'm like, this is the worst fucking thing ever.
And see, the bad part about me was I just played that mission like it was any other Call of Duty mission.
You didn't know.
I didn't know. I was, like I said, 15 years old, and I'm just like, okay, so we have to shoot everybody, so let's just shoot everybody and throw grenades random.
Yeah, it was real fuck. I literally, I remember playing it, and I was just like, I literally sighed. I was like, oh, this sucks. I was like, I don't like this. And again, like, I did it, and it wasn't like, oh, I was like so pissed or offended. Like, I was just like, good for you for having the balls to put that in a game. Really good for you
to put a disclaimer.
Put a disclaimer there, because literally that could fuck some people up. Like if they had some sort of memory of something like that bad happening, like good for you for at least like saying, yes, this is a level. It is not that. It's not like it's such a giant part of the story to where like, yes, you can skip it and you won't fucking miss anything. So I mean, completely good on them. But like, dude, as an adult, I was like, wait, you want me to do what? Like.
Didn't it get banned? Didn't the whole game get banned in certain countries?
I would assume, I think they did that to prevent that from happening, because, like, that level's fucked.
I think, like, those versions of the game, like, just
for sure, yeah. There's definitely countries, like Australia being the big one, where, like, Australia is one of those countries where they have a certain, but if it's, like, a certain thing is in a game, they will fucking ban it, like, and they don't care. Like, they're like, no. I remember Saints Row 4, I think it was 3 or 4, got banned completely because of like the giant dildo weapons and shit that they had in the game, which is hysterical.
Love that game.
Yeah, Saints Row was great.
I was like 16 playing that too. Loved it.
And again, dude, it's a 16-year-old running around with a big dildo. That's just comedy. You're just like, this is funny.
like Mom, it's like Jackass. You know, we watched that as a family.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I remember my favorite thing that's ever happened with one of those games was South Park. Because South Park was getting banned in Australia for some of the shit, which, by the way, those South Park games they're so funny but so fucked at the same time. You're like, oh my God, you put this in a game.
I was always aware of South Park and what it was as like an adult cartoon.
Right.
And I had never really watched it because, you know, I was young and my parents and grandparents and everybody else on planet Earth was like, no, you're not watching this. So whenever Stick of Truth... Yeah, so when Stick of Truth came out, I'm like, wow, this is really fucking funny. I should watch the show. Yeah. And I binged the entire thing. And
my God.
And right before Fractured Butthole came out,
it's still
oh my God, I love it so much. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a big South Park fan. Never knew this about me, but let's go.
Yeah, I could. That's definitely one as a parent, you're like, you should never see this child. Like, this is really, really, really bad. Kim
Kardashian uterus level.
Dude, there's a scene in Stick of Truth where you go in a dude's butthole. Like, come on, dude.
You go inside the gay guy's ass.
Yeah, it's the best. It's just, there was like that moment, and then there was the moment in, Fractured Butthole, which I won't spoil because he's a boss in the game. Like, he's a boss in the game. I'll tell you off air what I was talking about. But, like, when you get to that part, you're like, this is so fucked up that this person is in the game. This is so fucked up.
Oh, yep. The prison scene?
Yeah, and you're
gotcha.
Like, how is this guy not suing South Park for everything that's happening right now? Because this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I got to that part of the game, and I'm like, holy shit.
That's like one of the favorite things to watch, like, reactions of on YouTube is, like, either that level, like, that reveal, or the difficulty setting.
Yes. Because, again, it's just like, I applaud you guys for having the balls to go that far, but, like, there's an achievement for it, too. It's so fucking ridiculous.
Tough, man.
It's so
My
ridiculous.
God. I love it.
Dude, yeah, good. I mean, again, mature-rated games, good stuff. Nothing wrong with those. But again, like, hey, if you're a parent, just make sure you're aware of what the hell your kid's saying. Because, by the way, my kid will never play South Park. Like, I don't give a fuck if my kid is 22. I would be like, do not play South Park Stick of Truth or Fractured.
He's going to have to wait until you're dead.
Wait until I'm long dead.
Virtual
you
console.
Can do whatever you want to do. Exactly. I have the games. Like, you can play them when I'm dead. When I'm dead, I'll put them in my will. You can finally play these.
Yeah.
So, as far as it goes, you were talking about progression games, your mom kind of just got you games and didn't really care. Your dad, was there ever a point in time when your dad like accepted the fact that you played games, or was he kind of just like always not against games but not as into it, or he just kind of was like, all right, that's his own thing, whatever?
Yeah, pretty much several years after, during my teenage years, he's just like, okay, he plays games.
Right.
Like
it wasn't like a hidden thing.
Like, yeah, like probably
silver, don't tell your dad.
Eighth grade, freshman year, like, yeah, easily. He would just be like, okay, like he drives himself, he can go to school. So he
drives himself, he can do whatever. You get to that point where you can drive yourself, and you're like, as a parent, my restrictions are limited now. Like,
it's like, okay, if you're late to school, it's your fault. So
exactly, right.
And I quickly did learn. I'm like, okay, like 11 o'clock, I have to go to bed because I'm not going to be late to football practice and have to run more.
That was going to be, actually, what's funny, that's going to be my next question. Did you have like any hobbies or anything that, I won't say distracted you from gaming?
Big sports guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have hobbies that would like keep your attention from games for a certain period of time, or was there ever a point in time you fell out of gaming?
No. I've pretty much gamed my entire life because, in school, I think in 7th grade it was required. You had to be in athletics. You had to play football because it's Texas. It's Texas, and that's a religion. Got it.
Yeah, that's probably Texas law. Must play
football. Yeah, it's a religion.
Right.
Yeah, we pray to Bo Jackson every Sunday. And Troy Aikman is a god here, and that's a fact that I have to deal with as a New Orleans Saints fan.
A goddamn god in there. He is like, it's like Jesus, him.
Yeah, in Texas at least.
Yeah, exactly. In Texas, 100%. He's going to be in the state flag
Norris.
next. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Dude, Chuck Norris was Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, I watched that as a child. That was my childhood cartoon. Dude, was Walker, Texas Ranger.
That would fuck me up, though, because I would think every Texas Ranger knows Kung Fu and shit. That would mess me up, man. But also,
I met Chuck Norris.
Yeah, but then as a small child, that's like, it's funny, that's the best PSA. It's like, if you live in Texas, if you break the law, that dude's going to show up and fuck you up.
Kill you. That's like, most kids my age were like, hey, we're going to the Barney concert. I'm like, Chuck Norris is doing a political campaign for somebody local. Let's go meet him.
Because Chuck Norris, dude, you're right. It's like Jesus, Troy Aikman, Chuck Norris.
Yeah, it's the big three we got. And outside of gaming, in high school, mainly in high school, I played football, I played tennis, and I powerlifted for a little bit. I ran track for a little bit. I wasn't a big baseball guy, wasn't a big basketball guy, and I played golf, but I wasn't ever on the team. I just said I was on the team so I could go to the course and play for free. Because we do have a local golf course here. So, outside of school and gaming in general, I was pretty busy all throughout high school. I had football games every Friday, and then once that was over, tennis, we had meets Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right. So, and by that time I was driving, so it wasn't much of hey, me and 5 of my friends are going to ride our bicycles and wreak havoc across the town. Sure. We're gonna go to Drake's house and watch TV.
Right. Also, too, I can imagine after playing football, you probably don't have a whole lot of energy to do anything else.
No, and literally, like after I would get home from football practice, I would probably, if I remember, I'd probably just eat and sit there mindlessly playing something like Madden or Call of Duty, or just like not even in the zone, or I would finish up homework or whatever.
Right.
But that's pretty much my routine after that.
It's a good thing, though, that I won't say it's necessarily a good or bad thing that people have more in the hobbies than just gaming, right? Because some people, gaming's been always their thing, but like, I was the same thing. Like in middle school, I played basketball. On freshman year, I was on the wrestling team in high school. I did skateboarding, which made me stop playing games entirely, just because that took over like my life. I didn't do.
I tried to be a skater once; it didn't work out.
Well, you know what I noticed? There was levels of like athleticism, so it was like you were in high school. If you were football, basketball, if you were any of those things, you didn't skateboard. Like you were too good at your other shit to be able to skateboard. But then there was those skinnier kids that were just like really good at skating and just not that good at everything else.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about small town Texas. We've got those kids that, hey, our linebacker can kick flip.
Yeah, exactly. He's he could do multi-sports. He's good stuff.
Yeah, but I was also a big reader too, so I still read to this day, whether it be regular books or comic books. Like I talked to you before the show, I'm reading the Percy Jackson series right now, and I'm about halfway through the first book. And even then, I was still a big old nerd, but I was still cool enough that, you know, I was on the football team, and which really doesn't mean anything in small town Texas because almost everybody's on the football team anymore.
In my town, if you said you're on the football team, that's a big deal just because, like, in my team, it was like, if you were on the basketball team, you were next level shit. Like, you were fucking kings of the high school because our football team was trash, but our basketball team was so good. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no, like, that's the same thing. But, like, in our school, the funny thing is like, I felt like if you were into that sport, that was like the only game you gave a shit about. Like, every football player that was on our team.
We had those kids.
Yeah. Like, they would come and talk about Madden, and that's it.
We had those kids where it's like, okay, Lane is our basketball guy. He's a god. He's going to go to college and play basketball. And he did for a year or two. Daryl, he could play football or basketball in college. What did he do? He went and played football in college.
Right.
You know, we had those people where it's like, okay, you're really good at this. So by the time we got to like junior, senior year of high school, it's like, you don't have to do every sport.
Right.
Like, you can do just one and just chill for the rest of the year. Like, it's not a requirement anymore.
There were psychos at our school that did like all of the above. And I'm like, I don't get how you physically have the energy to do all of this. Like, you don't have an off season. Like, you're fucking on every sport.
Yep.
I'm like, just insane.
One of my very best friends, Kelton, he was a big football star, and then he went to state powerlifting, and he would squat like 800 pounds and something ridiculous.
Jesus.
And I don't think he ever won state. I think he got like second or third. And then during powerlifting, it's like, oh, it's baseball season. You have to play baseball after your powerlifting meet.
Right.
And you had those kids where it's like you literally would go to tennis practice in your baseball uniform, play tennis, and then run over to the baseball field and practice there too.
That's crazy.
And that's just, which I take that as like a Southern thing, like, because, you know, the South and their sports are very, like I said earlier, it's a religion.
Right.
So, and you got to commit to get out of small town Texas. And we had those kids, and some of them got out and they're doing fairly well, and some of them are selling drugs on the streets. You know, it's just how the world works.
Such a big difference, right?
Well,
like, I remember like high school wrestling, and I did it freshman year because I'm a stupid kid, and I was like, hey, WWE's cool. Let me try wrestling. So let me rephrase that. I didn't expect to go to high school wrestling and start fucking stunning or rock bottoming people, right? I didn't expect that. But I was just like, hey, I don't know, because I remember like Kurt Angle and how he was a collegiate wrestler, an Olympic wrestler, and I was like, hey, let's try to get into that. And I remember just not doing wrestling at all until freshman year, and then just realizing like, this is the most grueling shit ever. Like, I cannot, like, I remember after wrestling, I got mono my freshman year, and I was like, I have to go from mono, recover, and then go back to wrestling. Like, I want to put a gun in my mouth. This is awful. Like, this is the worst ever. I remember when I was getting sick, they were just like, you're fine, work through it. I'm like, I'm fucking dying. I'm slowly dying right now.
And curse me, I have the most terrible allergies. It's just something that runs in my family. We have terrible allergies. The best day of my life was when we got a turf football field, because I was a lineman. I'm a lineman, so it was like, I was a lineman, so it's like I'm in the dirt like every 5 seconds. So this turf is going to save my life. Yeah,
thank you very much.
I keep Benadryl in my knee pad.
That's so like I need it all the time. What's funny is you had mentioned weightlifting. When I was younger, I skateboarded, right? It was all like, I did it all, basically all of high school I skateboarded. And what's funny is when it came to the weight room, cause I did, strength training for gym, cause in Illinois, instead of football being a religion, every year you had to have gym as a requirement for school. Yeah. Like, it was a requirement.
That's how ours was. It was like you had to have an athletic credit, and you could either
semester,
and you could either do athletics or you could do PE.
Right, exactly. But I remember every time we'd go to the weight room, me and this rollerblader were able to leg press more than anyone else in the entire building. Like, we were putting weights up there and just leg pressing shit, and every football player was like, even the giant dudes were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you asked me to bench press anything, you would have laughed at me because my upper body was a disaster.
That's exactly how I was. I'm just going to lift with my legs and not with my arms.
Meanwhile, all the
football
players are over there just throwing up so much weight, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't want to get into a fist fight with you ever because that would be really bad. But with video games, you were, kind of consistent. Yeah, obviously you had a ton of sports going on. You were playing games. The good thing is, like you said, you never really fell out of it, so you kind of were just pretty consistent with it.
My time was very split even with everything I did.
Right. And the cool thing is, in my school, it was like, if you were into video games as much, you really didn't do other, like, athletic shit. Like, it felt like very, like, I wouldn't say nerdy, but it was just like, if you played games a lot, you literally didn't do other shit. Like, like I said, I was the opposite, where I went full skateboarding and didn't touch video games for almost 4 years. Like, except for it was a Tony Hawk game. That was, like, the only thing I gave a shit about.
Yeah, we would, like, leave football practice and go over to somebody's house and play, like, Call of Duty split screen.
Right.
Like, that's just what we did.
Plus, you grew up in an era where gaming, I'm not going to say, your high school with, like, Call of Duty being out during high school.
It was terrible.
What do you mean it's terrible?
Like, that's all people talked about.
Well, no shit. Like, I mean, I'm an adult with a job and like kids and a wife and shit by the time, like, Call of Duty comes out and shit. So, like, yes, I was still playing quite a bit of it, but I can't imagine being in high school where, like, you have the most free time and, like, you can just fucking do it all night and go crazy. And also, you're not an old man to the point where you have the energy to stay up all night and then be able to do shit. Like,
yeah,
Jesus, man.
It got to the point where one of my friends was ranked, like, 5th in the world on a certain game style.
Jesus.
On Black Ops 2,
right?
I think but it got to the point where everybody was like, "Hey, what's your KD ratio?" Like, that was like, "Hey, what's up?"
That was your status symbol.
It's like, "Hey, what's your KD?" I'm like, not good. I'm good at the game."
You know what really bums me out is, like, now that status symbol, right? Like,
stigma.
That's what it used to be. Was like, what's your KD? If you were like, that just showed if you were a piece of shit or not. What I read an article which pisses me right off is I read an article on Polygon the other day that basically said that kids today are bullied if they play Fortnite but don't have, like, certain skins.
Like, if you're a no skin.
Yeah, if, like, you're a no skin, apparently you're, like, trash. And, like, there were times where people were saying, like, if you're a no skin, like, people won't play with you, like, they exclude you from groups because you're a no. I'm like, you fucking awful kids. You evil kids.
I also feel like that's horseshit because Fortnite gives out free skins, like, all the time.
All the time. But still, to, like, basically, like, treat somebody like a second-class citizen because they don't have, like, a $20 skin that all these people bought. Like, that's
I guess you gotta
bullshit. I remember, like, I remember reading that and getting so pissed because, like, my daughter, like, the fucking fear of the century that I have as a parent. My daughters play games. Let me rephrase that. I have 3 daughters. The 2 that are old enough to play games play games. And if I ever heard a guy talk to my daughter because she's a girl gamer and, like, all this shit a certain way, I'd go to jail. Like, it's that simple. And I read that article and I immediately got pissed because, like, my daughter plays. Granted, she has, like, skins and stuff, but, like, if I ever heard of someone excluding my daughter because she didn't have a certain skin on Fortnite, I would go insane. Like, I would have a real bad problem with that.
Yeah, that's one of those Noob Master 69 situations where...
For anybody who hasn't seen that movie, I deeply apologize because you really should see that movie. But yeah, Noob Master 69. That's so good. So high school Call of Duty. Oh my god, that sounds like
all we did.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, like, I'm older than you. I was born in '86, but, like, when I was in high school, it was more like N64, PlayStation was, like, the consoles during that life cycle. And
it was like 7 through 12 was in 64 and PS2.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, dude, I can't imagine, like I said, online gaming when you're that young. And like I said, my son, when he's not in trouble for school with his grades, my son is all about he was for a while there. He loves Rainbow Six Siege. Like, he
really?
loves the shit out of that game. I've never played it. I heard it's good. Never got a chance to play it.
I played it a couple times.
Yeah, but like again now, like the crazy thing is that, and the one thing that like, you had the internet in an age where high school, and I'm not saying I didn't, but like, you have like next level internet to the point where like you have internet 2.0 where there's like voice chat and games and actually online gaming. Like, that's amazing to have at such a young age when that was like your social. And some people don't get it. Like, my father-in-law is like, oh, I wish my son would go out, or my son would go out and play games or do more things. I'm like, you don't get it. Like, he's in an Xbox party playing games, socializing, talking about bullshit. Like,
yeah, that was a conversation we had to have.
Yeah.
Where I remember talking to my mom about, I'm like, hey, there's this thing you can buy for my 360 where I can play games with all of my friends. And they're like, huh? And it was that little piece of crap antenna that we had on the back of your 360 to connect to
garbage wireless adapter.
Yeah. So it's like, and having to explain that, it's like, okay, but if I get this, then I'm still playing with it. And even then, they still didn't quite grasp it. They're like, why don't you just go to Will's house and play with him? I'm like, because I
don't have to, Mom, because technology has made it to where we don't have to do this shit anymore, Mom.
Yeah, basically, without getting punched in the face.
Yeah, I mean, of course. That, by the way, that's all internal voice you say to Mom. You don't say that shit external. You'll get smacked in the mouth.
It's like,
it's funny because, like you mentioned, like with the online gaming, I remember being an adult. Like, I had my own apartment when Xbox Live was happening and shit. And it's funny because, like, when on the original Xbox, when Xbox Live happened, it was very much more an adult thing. Because, again, most kids weren't able to convince Mom to get broadband internet, which, by the way, was not, like, common at that time. Like,
no, it was a thing. Like, I remember whenever I did get the adapter for 360 or however I was planning on setting it up, my friend was like, I dug under the house and put an Ethernet cable there.
Right.
So I can play games without my dad tripping over a cord going across the entire house. And I'm like,
right.
Ooh. Like,
yeah, it's insane. Like, but I mean, even the access to broadband internet, but like, I remember like on the early days of Xbox, it seemed to be more adults just because adults had the means to go buy their own shit, like buy their own internet, buy their own, and everything. So I remember like on the original Xbox, it seemed more like teenagers, older adults were playing online rather than kids. But then when 360 happened, everyone and their fucking mother was playing online. And that's where, like, hey, man, shut up, man. That voice started showing up on 360. It was, like, barely on the original Xbox for me.
We had a lot of those where it's like, hey, let's go to game chat and talk shit.
Oh, God.
like, hey, let's just do that for fun.
You know what's funny is, like, you were probably that kid I hated playing with. I
was actually pretty quiet.
That's good. But no, when you get like that 8-year-old just screaming the N-word over and over, I wanted to put a gun in my mouth. And then Party Chat got announced. And I was like,
Party Chat.
Thank you, Xbox. I don't have to hear these fucking people ever again. Here's the thing that sucks. Party Chat happened. It got rid of it got rid of the worst parts of the online community, but at the same time, some of the best, because like, you didn't get to meet new people as often, I felt. Like,
it's so rare to play a game online and just be told, like, hey, good game, and then you get a friend request. Like,
exactly.
That doesn't happen anymore.
You know what's insane? The one game it's happened to more often than ever, Apex. And I think the only reason why is because the ping system that they have in that game, where you can literally do so much communicating without saying a word to them. If you notice somebody is pinging and like telling people where they're going and being communicative like that, that's the, like, I think like the big enticing thing now, instead of actually talking, because you can literally do all those things and go, wow, this guy plays and knows what he's doing. And then I've gotten friend requests because of that. Like, because of you just being a team player and doing that shit, people are like, I want to keep playing with you. And it's nuts that I've gotten so many requests in Apex lately.
Yeah, that ping system's really great, especially for like, when I was playing it with my friends, when I did play it, like, so-and-so's internet would go out and his mic would cut off. And it's like, okay, he's still in the game, and we're like, okay. And I'm like, ooh, hey, I'm going over here. There's bad guys over here. I'm going here. So strategize your own way that way.
Right. And that
was the best way to communicate.
That is literally, like, when that happened, I was just like, it sounds so, it's, again, anytime something gets invented, like you see, like, an invention. You're like, why didn't I think of that? You literally see the ping system and go, holy shit, this is so good. How did no one else think of this first? And then all of a sudden, like, everyone did it now.
Hey. Yeah, 3 months later, there's a headline, hey, Fortnite adding ping system.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2 months later, then 2 weeks later, Fortnite adds respawns. I'm like, you fucks.
Yeah, it's like, oh, got that down.
Yeah, no, the ping system, like I said, like, I've gotten so many random friend requests and shit in Apex because, like, I'm not saying I'm good, but it's just like, just if you communicate in the game, if you're not an asshole running off by yourself, if you're like, hey, like, cause you can call out like, I need this gun, I need this attachment, I need this, and if people call those things out and stuff, you're just like, wow, you're actually a team player. Yeah. Dude, I've gotten way more cause now it's not requests, it's just like someone has added you as a friend, but like, that's happened a lot in Apex since that game's launched.
Yeah, I just remember every time we played, it's like, okay, so-and-so likes this gun, so-and-so likes that gun, because I would play with the same group of friends every time.
Right.
So every time I'd find it, I'm just like, okay, double tap that. Hey, there's this over there. Oh, I don't need it. Okay, well, I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those situations where, you know, that ping system comes so helpful.
Right.
When it comes to...
Even when I play by myself, I don't feel like this is going to suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was getting.
I'm like,
you don't feel left out.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, like, again, I'm thinking like, dude, I'm jealous of you that you had Call of Duty in high school. I really am. Cause like, that's special. And again, like, I was an adult that had a full responsibilities and I just didn't have as much time. But like, it's funny cause I was on Instagram the other day or something and it was like either a gaming page I follow or a World Star was like, it's Friday night. You just got home from high school, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 in the Xbox and nothing to do all weekend. What's better? I'm like, fucking nothing. That's like
I was at work.
Yeah, I was working all goddamn weekend. But like I was just thinking about that. Like got home from school on the weekend, you pop in Call of Duty and your boys are online. There's nothing better. I'm like, no, there isn't. Like I dream of that now.
No
it's
scopes with interventions.
Exactly. That's what I think of now. It's like you have a weekend off, family's out of town, all your boys are playing Apex. I'm like, that sounds like the greatest weekend ever. Like that just sounds so fun. So as you're playing games, as you're becoming an adult, you, like you said, you never really stopped playing games. So you had mentioned you had, as far as consoles go, you had a 360, obviously, because everyone and their mother did.
Yes.
But you also mentioned now you have a PlayStation. Like, did you go to PlayStation 3 or did you ever mess with?
No, I had 360 all throughout high school, and then whenever they unveiled Xbox One, PS4, originally I was like, oh, well, I'll just get the new Xbox, but then gotta love Sony, all the exclusives. It's like, oh, new Infamous game, which I had heard of and I'd seen my friends play, and it's like, oh, all of these games, and I was just like, Mom's like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? I was like, PS4.
Gotcha. I blame Don Matrick. He's an asshole. He ruined everything. I literally, that guy, there's like certain people, like, I'm not a violent person, but there's certain people, if I saw on the street, I would just light them up. Like, you motherfucker. like I hate you so much.
And then, so I had PS4 at launch, and then later on I did end up getting an Xbox One. I forget what game. It was probably for Sunset Overdrive, because I'm an Insomniac whore. And that's a great game. And it got to the point where it was like, okay, if there's a game coming out on both consoles, I was just going to switch back and forth. It's like, okay, Madden 15, Xbox One, Grand Theft Auto 5, PS4. But then it got to the point where my Xbox One became a Blu-ray player. It was just a dust in my bedroom.
Right.
So I ended up selling it, and I haven't had Xbox One since. And then like a month after I sold it, Quantum Break comes out, and I'm just like,
it's a good game.
Yeah, it's a really good game. And my friend's like, hey, Quantum Break's great. Have you gotten it? And I'm like, I sold my Xbox.
The only thing I'll say now, and again, this is as a big Microsoft fan, I am happy at them doing the whole PC, like basically no Xbox exclusives anymore, because if you have an awesome PC, you can play it there. Just because Microsoft quickly realized hardware doesn't make us money, it's software. And we can put our software on 100 million computers and people will buy it. So, yeah, like if you haven't had a chance to play Quantum Break, go do that shit, because it's great. It's a really fucking good game.
I think I ended up watching the movie like on YouTube. So
yeah, that was like, what sucks about that game is that was like during the time when they still gave a shit about, like, they were still pushing like TV studios and like, and I mean, I remember like hearing
Xbox is your entertainment center.
Yeah. Fuck you, Don Matcher. God, you ruined it. And again, like, I will tell you, after watching the reveal, I wasn't necessarily upset. I was more upset at how they fumbled everything, because I was still going to get an Xbox One because, again, I was so into online gaming and my friends, that's where everybody was playing. So I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm still getting an Xbox One. But I was just more mad that, like, you had all this momentum and then you have this one press conference and then, like, all of your executives are saying different things about used games and, like, trading and, like, yeah, they just fucking ruined everything. And now, by the way, you have Troy Aikman and Chuck Norris. Phil Spencer is one of my gods. He's
one of mine too, and I'm not an Xbox
guy. Yeah, he's
guy.
literally done so much good shit, and I'm just like, dude, thank you for making this console like a thing again. People give a shit about, like, so I'm super excited for the next gen, but like after like all these things started happening, like backward compatibility, Game Pass, EA Access, like all these things started happening, I'm like, I'm really happy to own this thing. Like, I'm not going to say I wasn't happy to own it, but like, I'm not the burden of like all these jokes of like, this is bullshit, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah. And then on my end, you know, cause I'm a PlayStation guy, I see all that stuff happening. I'm like, oh, that'd be pretty cool. I don't have an Xbox though, but right. I mean, I'm not one of those big console war guys. I'm not one of those weirdos.
Right. And I'm the same boat. It's just annoying when people are like, when they throw that shit at you, like, I had friends on my Facebook when Xbox came out. We had a group chat, and basically it was like we named it E3. So like when E3 happened, we were just all discussing everything. And I remember when the Xbox One was shown off, and all my friends were all excited. One guy in our group was like, "You guys like Xbox that much?" And we're like, "Yeah, we play on 360. Like that's our console." He's like, "I just don't get it." To where we quickly booted him out of the party. Like, go fuck yourself then. Like, and we changed the name to like Xbox One Chat, because like that's all we were just so happy about playing that. And yeah, like all the things that are happening now. Like, example though, PS4 is getting EA Access.
Yep,
I'm sorry, it took 5 years, but good job, because that shit's awesome. Like, that shit's pretty cool.
And I was at work when all that came out, so in my friend group chat where we just talk about games and other stuff that we got going on, I was like, so, because I never really understood EA Access, because, you know, I don't have Xbox, so I didn't need to worry about it. Well, now that it's coming to PlayStation, you know, I immediately in the group chat was like, hey, so does this mean I get Madden early?
Yep.
Like, what's the deal? And they're like, yeah, you like, if you want an EA game, you can get it early for, I think it's $6 a month or something.
Best thing, I think it's for a year, it's $30.
Yeah.
It's the great,
easy.
It's such a, and I mean, my favorite thing in the world about EA Access is, I've mentioned this before, I like sports games. Not enough to pay $60 for one, because I tend to play 5 or 6 games of Madden, and I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'll play like a game of NHL and be like, that's cool. Literally, EA Access is perfect because it gives me 10 hours of each game, which I don't usually ever come close to hitting that 10-hour limit. And then by the time the season's over, you get the game for free. So like Super Bowl, Madden was on EA Access. NHL, Stanley Cup playoffs, it's on EA Access. Like, they basically wait until the season's over, and then they just give you the game for free, and it's like, yeah. And I mean, certain games, the only thing I would say is like certain games with EA Access, example, Unravel. Awesome game if you haven't played it. Fun little platformer.
I haven't played it.
Fun platformer. Again, you'll be able to play it if you get access now, because they'll just give it to you. But it's not 10 hours long. So what they do is they give you like the first 2 levels, and that's where they cap it. So certain games, they don't give you a 10-hour trial because the game's less than 10 hours long.
Yeah, exactly.
But the whole fact you get it early, you get a discount buying digital, it's completely worth it.
Which I do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you get the discount early. When I had Apex, I got 10 free Apex packs just for having access. So I was like, cool.
That's a cool thing. I think that developers and publishers are starting to do more, because even like me and my friends started playing Battlefront 2 randomly whenever all the Jedi Fallen Order stuff came up. And on the home screen, like literally right after the press conference, it's like, hey, if you have Battlefront 2, you can click here and pre-order Jedi Fallen Order Deluxe Edition and get 15% off.
Right.
And it's like, well, duh, I'm going to do that, because why wouldn't I do that? And it's just so cool that, especially EA, because EA is one of those big things, because Madden and NHL and even all the other games that they have that aren't just sports games.
Right. Well, I mean, like, the other thing, too, is it can be good and it can be bad. Example, Anthem.
Anthem is a good game, and I will stand by that.
It's a good game. It didn't light the world on fire like everybody thought it would. Like, it's a good game. But the thing is, like,
it was lighting consoles on fire.
Yeah, it was bricking them left and right. It was making people want to set their house on fire with how pissed they were getting. But no, like, with that game though, like, I remember my buddy, like, he downloaded the 10-hour trial and he played it, and he's just like, I'm not like upset, but at that time though, there wasn't like this patch that was supposed to fix a lot of the shit. So when he was playing it, he was like, this shit doesn't run well. He was just like not thrilled by it. So in his eyes, it actually deterred him, but in a way, he was happy to have EA access because at least he got to try it. Eventually, they're going to make it free, but it's the same thing that happened with Battlefront 2. What they did with Battlefront 2 is you had unlimited access to the multiplayer for the 10 hours. Yep. And the first like 2 levels of the single player. But then 6 months later, you got the game for free. And again, like for $30 for an entire year.
And get all of these games.
Right. Why would you not do it? The only thing I'll say is PS4 is getting it, which is awesome. The only advantage to the Xbox version is EA also does the backward compatibility shit. Like, when they when they started running out of games to add, I was like, oh, this, it's just the sports games and like 1 or 2 occasional games. But then on Xbox, they were like, here's all the Dead Spaces. Here's all the Mass Effects. Here's Skate 3. I was like, holy shit, you guys just made this value way bigger. Thank you.
Skate 3 alone. I mean,
dude, when Skate 3 became backward compatible, I was the happiest dude ever because the only reason my 360 was still being used was because of Skate 3. And the moment they put it on Xbox One, I was like, I never need to turn this machine on again.
Yeah, until my 360 died, I was like, okay, this is my Skate 3 machine, and I'm proud of it.
Skate 3 is a fantastic game, and I'm so sad that like people didn't give a fuck until after like the company closed and like they shut down and like
PewDiePie did it.
Yeah, basically. Like, I have always been a skate fan just because, again, skateboarding. Like, I was like, this is literally this is the skateboarding game. This is, like, the game that people need to play. And then, like, it died, and I was like, well, that sucks. And then all of a sudden there was this resurgence with PewDiePie's video and shit, and then, like, now all of a sudden people lost their mind. My favorite thing in the world still is anytime you go to EA's Instagram, any comment, please make Skate 4.
Skate 4.
Please.
Every time.
Just please. It doesn't matter what the fuck is there. Here's Madden. Here's Patrick Mahomes is the new cover of Madden 20. Please make Skate 4. Like, we don't fucking care.
Yeah, like everybody wants that game.
Yeah. And I loved what happened at the press conference last year at Xbox when they showed a skateboarding game. I knew it wasn't Skate 4.
See, so did I.
Because Project Sessions is something I backed on Kickstarter because, again, I want good skateboarding games. By the way, not a bad game. I have it on PC. I've been playing like the betas and stuff.
That's awesome.
It's fun. But when I saw that, I immediately was just like,
that's not coming to PS4, is it?
Sessions, yeah, it is. I think it's Xbox first and then PlayStation. Okay, they didn't discount PlayStation, but no, I backed it to where it's supposed to come to game preview on Xbox first, and then I think when wide release happens, I think it's going to both. But I remember when I saw that, I was like, people are going to be real pissed when they find out this isn't Skate 4. And then, like, everyone's like, I remember, like, Kind of Funny's chat was like, holy fucking shit, Skate 4.
They're doing it. They're doing it.
Just like, Session. They're like, Sessions. What the fuck is that? I'm like,
is it?
I was like, no, you don't get it. That's a good game. Yay. And everybody's just all pissed off. That ruined EA's press conference for me when they were like, because all the shit, like, example, right before EA's press conference, Skate 3 online servers went back online. And I was like, it's fucking happening.
They're doing it.
It's coming. Here we go. And then they were like, we have one last thing to show you, and it's Anthem. And I was like flipping a desk. I was like, fuck this. I just like stood up. As soon as they were like, we have one last thing to show you, and it's Anthem, I fucking got up and got a sandwich. I'm like, fuck this, EA. You just pissed me off. I don't want to see this shit. I was like, you teased me. It was the worst tease ever. But it's all good.
That was a good game, though.
So as far as your gaming habits like today, so obviously you're an adult now.
Yep. Well, allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Sure, me too, right? I got a mortgage. That's what makes you an adult, like super adult. You got a mortgage. That
I got rent and a car payment.
Yeah, you're pretty much there too. So as far as it goes, what are your gaming habits like today? Obviously you have a job and all this shit. Are you still gaming on a pretty regular basis?
Yeah, I've been gaming pretty regularly for the past couple months, especially since I've actually found like a new group of friends that we play games together. But usually, because I work 7 to 4 Monday through Friday, so usually I'll get home, get something to eat, take me a quick little hour, 2-hour nap, and then I just hop on whatever I want to hop on. Text the group chat, hey, anybody want to play anything tonight? Nope. Okay, well, I'll play Spider-Man PS4 save number 17. Or I'll hop in on whatever Rocket League or something. You know, I find something, or Cuphead on Switch. I still need to get a boss beaten on level 2. And
by the way, Cuphead's so fucking good. And when I found out
it's so good.
When it was coming to Switch, I was like, good job.
Yeah,
good job.
I take my Switch to work like every day, and on my lunch break when I'm listening to podcasts or reading a book or something, I'm just sitting there playing Cuphead.
You know what sucks is like I love, like I have all of the above, right? I have a Switch, I have all that. I have 2 Switches because I ran into that situation you were talking about where the mom bought 2 PS4s. I was that with the Switch. I was like, I noticed last Christmas, this past one, 90% of the games my kids asked for were all Switch games.
So you were like, oof.
And I was like, this is going to be real fucking bad if we have one. So I got a second one. However, it's not theirs. They're the family's.
Oh, so gotcha.
Here's the thing, though. There's 2 kids who are of age who can play them on a regular basis. So essentially, they kind of, you know, they got docks in the room and shit. I'm like, these are not yours. I'm not claiming these are yours. But the docks are in the room, and yeah, you're kind of pretty much yours. But, yeah, like, yeah, exactly. I feel bad, though, because, like, on the Switch, like, I enjoy the console. I think it's good. I mostly play the Nintendo exclusives on there, but like so many people talk about going to work and like on their lunch break or on the commute or whatever playing on Switch. I work from home, so I don't have a commute. And when I work from home and I'm on lunch, like if I'm staring, like by the way, 99% of the time I've played Switch has been docked. Like I haven't actually taken it anywhere. However, 2.5 week trip. Vacation coming up.
Oh yeah, you're going to get a lot of handheld time.
Oh yeah, on the plane, I'm going to be like, you go play with your phone. I'm playing something right now.
Yeah, I think I've been about 60-40 on mainly handheld, just because of the whole taking it to work and playing it on my lunch break aspect. But the Switch kind of started out slow for me because honestly, I didn't really care about other indie games. Like I didn't really care about indie games until probably a year ago. And now Katana Zero is like my game of the year so far.
It's weird because I thought I was that asshole who thought indie games, it's only $20. It can't be a good game. And then I think I'm trying to remember the game that changed my mind. I think the one like I was playing indie games beforehand, but like Trials and State of Decay on 360. Because that was when I was playing like a indie game that was $20 that I was like, this is so fucking good. This is crazy. Yeah. And I'm not saying State of Decay is like the greatest indie game ever. I know there's plenty of indie games that are probably better that I haven't played. But like that was where I noticed like these are games where who cares if it's a smaller studio? They're literally making games that are drawing my attention away from AAA shit. Like, and that's where now like I have a ton of indie games in there. Shovel Knight was so good. Shovel Knight's such a good game. But then, like, Cuphead happened.
Cuphead was a thing. That was a major thing.
Yeah, Cuphead's fantastic. And when I heard, my favorite part is when I was listening to the press conference where they were, Cuphead's coming to Switch. They said, with the help of Microsoft. I was like, that just makes me happier. Because, like, Microsoft was like, we want that on Switch. Because we want our relationship with Nintendo to be perfect so we can put Game Pass on Switch. And if that rumor happens, I'm gonna freak the fuck out. Like, if that really happens, where they do the whole cloud shit, Game Pass on Switch, my head is just gonna fucking explode because then I can play my Xbox games anywhere and I'm gonna freak out.
Yeah, because even like with me, like I've been playing Cuphead and I'm still sucking at it, so I need to get better. But then like Katana Zero came out the same day that Cuphead came to Switch, and I became addicted to Katana Zero, and I was like, fuck, this game is just so awesome. And then when my friend sent me a screenshot, he's like, yo, it got downloaded this many times and they're going to add free DLC. And I'm like, fuck yes, this is what we need.
Right. No, like Cuphead's also getting DLC, which I also like because the name of it is like, I can't remember, The Delicious Last Course.
Yeah.
I was like, you fucking assholes. I was like, you're so good. Here's the only thing I'll say, though, with Cuphead. The only thing I'll say is that I don't know how you play it on Joy-Cons. Like, Like, I personally...
I don't have a Pro Controller either, so I just have Joy-Cons.
Like, so the that's the thing for me is, like, I won't say... The Joy-Cons for me, comparing it to a Pro Controller, because, like, by the way, the Nintendo Pro Controller, the Switch Pro Controller, is phenomenal. Yeah. It's so good. And that's how I played, Zelda and Mario Odyssey. Like, I played those docked with a Pro Controller. So then when I go to play that on Joy-Cons, it doesn't feel as good. So that's where I'm just, like, spoiled. You know what I mean? But if I'm playing Tetris 99, who gives a shit? It's a Joy-Con. Like, by the way, also, Tetris 99,
10 out of 10.
Game.
Great game.
Great game. And I've only played second, and it pisses me off, and I claim it's the hardest Battle Royale game ever. I don't care what you say. The highest
I've gotten was like 4th or 5th.
I've gotten second, and I wanted to fucking punch a hole in my wall. I was so mad. I was like, I just want one win. I just want one win in this game, because it's so far the only Battle Royale game I don't have a win in, and I'm like, I don't care. It is the hardest one, period.
I see that on my boot up screen on my Switch every time I turn it on, and I'm just like, okay, I'll play like 2 games.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for me, is lately, like, again, when I'm at home and I have an option of playing something on Switch or my Xbox, like, I'm sorry, like, my Xbox is right there. I'm going to play it on Xbox.
Yeah, for sure.
But, like, when my wife's watching some bullshit TV show that I don't want to watch, I'm like, okay, Switch. What do I want to play? Yeah, Tetris 99 is the first thing staring at me, and I'm like, I got to play this. Anything else, like, I was using it for a while for Fortnite because I thought it was, like, when it came to Switch, I was like, I was knee deep in Fortnite at the time, and I was like, this is a good alternative. So was I. This is a good alternative trying to get, like, my daughter to sleep. I can be in there just playing Fortnite while I'm trying to help get her to sleep and shit. So, like, that worked out well. But then Tetris 99 happened, and I was just like, that's literally the last game I've been playing on Switch. But over the break I'm thinking about getting Cuphead again, but I already beat it on Xbox, but I don't care. I might buy it again, but
that's what
I bought Rocket League on Switch, which is also crossplay, so I thought, like, that would be cool.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like $10 digitally or something on Amazon. It was great. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely buying this again because Rocket League's fantastic. Speaking of games that I buy, I've mentioned this to you before we started the show. People sometimes buy games with their own money, and they're happy, but then sometimes you buy games that are really shitty and you get really bummed out. What is the worst game you bought with your own money?
Tom Clancy's End War.
So what's funny is I prefaced this question to you beforehand.
Yep.
And you said, I mentioned it to you before we recorded so you can kind of try to get an answer. And you were like, it's some Tom Clancy game, some strategy game. I was like, oh, you mean End War, the game nobody fucking liked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I Googled it and saw the cover and I'm like, yep, that's it.
I don't get it because, like, on 360 especially, like, I mean, during that console generation, actually, because on Xbox, like, Splinter Cell was fucking king on Xbox. Like,
yeah, for sure.
But, like, on 360, it was pretty much everywhere. But, like, dude, they were doing Rainbow Six Vegas. They were doing Splinter Cell. Watchdog was super late. But then, like, fucking End War, no one asked for it.
Left field. Completely
no one asked for it. And, like, I remember them talking about it being a big, like, that game with all the voice commands, and, like, that's how they were, like, pushing it on Xbox at least. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like,
yeah, I remember buying the game and being like, oh, cool, it'll be like that last Splinter Cell game I played. It's Tom Clancy, why not? And then I booted it up, and I'm just like, wait, what? Like, and that was my first real-time strategy I ever played, and I think my last, other than, like, Civ 5. And I'm just like, okay, so I can't control the guy shooting the gun? Because I was in 8th grade when that game came out. So right. I was still so young, like I didn't have any insight to, like, research games before. I mean, me researching a game was looking at the back of the cover.
Right. I mean, the big thing though too is that with the actual, like, certain, like, genres of games, right? That type of, I remember playing Warcraft. Not World of Warcraft. Warcraft.
Like, yeah.
Very first Warcraft on PC. And it was a strategy game, like a real-time strategy. And I was just like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I just don't get what's the point of this? I'm not interacting with much. I'm just clicking buttons here and there and doing this and this. I'm not, like, actually swinging axes or whatever.
It's the waiting game, literally.
Right. Basically. And I remember with that, I remember, like, playing, and I was like, this is okay. But then there was a game that came out that I remember loving so much. It was on the original Xbox called Kingdom Under Fire. And it was that, but there was like a hero character that basically like, so you could switch between like archers and this and this and this and this, but then you would get to a hero where it basically turned into Dynasty Warriors, where you were actually swinging and fucking people up.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And it was so good because it was literally the mix of the things I liked about action games, but then real-time strategy. So I had a good mix of both. However, like, no one played it. Like, barely anybody played it. I remember there was a sequel that came out that I was so hyped for. I took the day off work. I was like, yes, I played it. I want to say like 100 people total were in the lobby that first day. Like, no one bought it. But the cool thing was the people that did buy it were so hyped for it.
Yeah, they were into it.
And then a game came out for 360. It was Kingdom Under Fire, but they got rid of all the real-time strategy shit, and they tried to do this like lore and story, and like it fucking sucked so bad. And I was just like, then the franchise just died after that. I was like, oh, what? That sucks. But yeah, I can imagine like you not knowing what the game is, seeing Tom Clancy, seeing Ubisoft, knowing their history, and then you fucking play End War.
Yeah, it was, and I probably played it maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes, and
Did you just immediately get rid of it? Were you just like, fuck this, and just gone?
It was one of those deals where I was like, hey, Mom, next time we're going to the city, we have to go to GameStop.
Like, I have to get rid of this shit.
Yeah, and she's like, okay. And I'm just, I was just like,
I just didn't realize. You're like, oh.
I was like, this game that I bought, it's no bueno, you know? It's just not what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Again, that was just definitely a different type of game than, I mean, everything else that Ubisoft and Tom Clancy's name was on during that console generation was all action games. Like,
yeah. And then that came out of left field and just blew everybody's mind and wasted everybody's money because nobody liked it. And now that I'm reading up on it, it says it was released on DS.
Yeah, exactly.
PSP.
DS, PS3. Dude, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then, a sequel is in the works, but due to the game's commercial failure, no shit. Like, no shit, dude. Like, of course that was really bad. So, yeah that happens, but, oh man. Well, if people wanted to check you out online or see any of the cool things you're doing, where would they go?
Mainly on Twitter at CTH73. I stream every once in a while, every blue moon actually, twitch.tv/itch73, ITCH. And that's pretty much it. I'm mainly just a Twitter boy. I'm on the Twitter community, big gaming community we got going over there. Join us. Don't be a dick, please.
That should be a good life lesson. Just join gaming communities and don't be a dick.
Yeah, just don't be a dick. And if you talk to me about Final Fantasy, I'm just going to talk about how I rode the chicken that one time, and that's it.
That's his history with Final Fantasy.
Rode the chicken in 15. That's all I did.
That's all you need to do, man. So, well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing all your stories with me, man. I do appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, dude. Happy to be back again.
All right, and again, thank you, Christian, for being on the show. Guys, if you want to go ahead and check him out on Twitter, go ahead and follow him at CTH73. So you can go ahead and follow him there. Of course, also, he does as a writer for Game Savvy, so if you want to check out that website, gamesavvy.net. Again, if you want to be on the show just like he was, send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUGpodcast.com. We also have a Facebook group. Just search that up on Facebook at Growing Up Gaming, as well as on YouTube, GUG Podcast, and at the website, GUGpodcast.com. Again, don't forget to share the show with friends. I definitely want to hear everybody's stories and get as many people on the show as I can. Again, thank you guys for your support. Feel free to leave me a review on iTunes or whatever platform you're using. Again, sharing the show is absolutely the best thing you can do if you want to support it. Get more people on the show. That's all I care to do. So thank you guys so much for your support. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys next week with another new episode. See ya.